Big Bang cosmology is built on a grand theory of the origin of the universe. Its story begins with the postulate that nothing existed before the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago. It is also said that whatever there might have been collapsed into itself and sparked a giant explosion in which all the atoms in the entire universe were formed, from which, subsequently, the universe was born by condensation of the created primordial dust that is deemed to be expanding at ever greater speed, racing away from the point of explosion. It is said that as the expansion progressed, the speeding dust condensed into stars and planets and galaxies, which will remain active for a season towards their eventual heat death, when all the energy from the Big Bang is consumed. The video focuses on a big subject that calls for a big production. However, it is big only because the theory is built on a big mistake in perception that has affected the shape of civilization more deeply on a wider front and for a longer period of time than any other misperception in the history of humanity. The mistake in perception actually precedes the Big Bang theory by several millennia, with numerous related effects, old and new, that are often deemed unrelated, but which, when they are brought together into a single complex, tell a story that cannot be easily recognized otherwise. For this reason, the video became somewhat lengthy. And yes, the Big Bang theory, as a concept of the cosmos, stands in the middle of it all, by its role in the larger historic context, in ways that are not apparent when the theory is looked upon, standing in isolation. To begin, let's look at the theory itself and the story it tells. In the Big Bang cosmology, the universe is regarded to be inherently entropic in nature. All the energy and substance of the universe is deemed to have originated at a single point source, at a single moment, as a single package. From this point on, it is deemed to have had all the energy and substance that it will ever have. Everything thereafter is said to have expanded outward, but with a built-in process of decay towards its death by energy depletion. The theory thereby presents the universe as entropic in nature. It is deemed to be self-consuming, winding down, and consequently self-collapsing. The term entropy defines the inherently collapsing dynamic system that is winding itself down by a process of energy depletion. Every sun in the universe is seen in this context. It is believed to be self-consuming, as it burns the hydrogen gas that it is made of. The hydrogen gas is deemed to power a process of nuclear fusion deep within the sun, which is said converts hydrogen into helium with the release of free energy. By this theory, after a few dozen billion years have passed, every sun in the universe will have burned itself out towards the end of the universe itself. The death of the universe is thereby deemed to be assured by the built-in entropy of the cosmic system that is simply unavoidable. Can this be true? Entropic systems are common on Earth. We are familiar with the concept of entropy. We find entropic systems in the form of clocks, watches, and wind-up toys that run down and stop when the energy in their spring or their battery is spent. That's the effect of entropy. The Big Bang Theory tells us that the universe operates in the same manner, though much more slowly. It is said to have expanded from an intense single-point explosion 13.8 billion years ago that wound it up, that got it expanding further and further until it fades into nothing when the energy that came with the explosion is used up. The basis for the entropic universe theory, which the Big Bang Theory may have been derived from, is the redshift effect of light coming from distant galaxies. The more distant the observed galaxies are located, the greater is the redshift that is being observed in the light received from them. The stated theory is that the redshift is caused by the observed objects receding away from us. This simply means that the greater the redshift is of the light observed from distant galaxies, the faster the galaxies are deemed to be speeding away from us, the observer. But here a paradox begins to unfold that unravels the Big Bang Theory. The paradox is that the redshift in light is observed in all directions. This means that the Earth is once again believed to be the center of the universe, as had been believed in medieval times, so that the entire universe is deemed to be speeding away from us. Wow! But is this true? Does this make sense? In whichever direction we look, various amounts of redshift are observed, while not the faintest blue shift is ever observed. This evidence makes one suspicious, doesn't it? The measured redshift is evidently real, but by it being real, it places the most fundamental platform of the Big Bang Theory into doubt, and thereby everything with it that is built on it, because it simply makes no sense that miraculously the Earth should be the center of the universe, with everything speeding away from us into all directions. The proposition places the entire theory of the entropic nature of the universe seriously into doubt. What do we measure when we measure redshift? It has been theorized that when a source of light is moving away from an observer, the light waves are stretched out, which causes the observer to perceive the light shifted towards longer wavelengths, towards the red of the visible spectrum. Inversely, it has been theorized that when a light source is fast approaching an observer, the light is compressed by the movement towards shorter wavelengths, which is deemed to cause a shift to occur towards the blue. The shifting itself is observed in the shifting absorption lines in the light spectrum. The individual lines are caused by specific colors of light being absorbed by specific atomic elements in the path of the light. The resulting absorption pattern is known to be essentially uniform among the galaxies. Only the observed shifting of the pattern varies. From the amount of the shifting and from the resulting calculated expansion speed of the most distant galaxies, it has been theorized that the Big Bang creation event occurred 13.8 billion years ago. But is this theory true? Can it be true? Is the Earth really the center of the universe, with all galaxies racing away from us? Does the wide field of evidence that we see match the assumption? No, it really doesn't. The wonderful Big Bang tale appears to be full of self-evident holes. One of the biggest of these holes is the hole that does not exist. When a giant explosion occurs in space, the explosion creates a thin shell of fire around what fast becomes an empty center. The result would be similar to what we see here. But this is not what we see through the telescopes when we look at the universe as a whole. The big ring of fire and the central void that we should see don't exist. No central void has been found. No ring of fire with an empty center has been recognized. So what about the redshift then? What happens to light from distant galaxies, especially from those at the outer edge that are deemed to be racing away from us? What happens to the light that causes it to redshift? That's an important question, because the entire Big Bang creation theory is fundamentally built on a specific assumption for the redshift phenomenon. How does one sort out the truth? When we look at the universe from the basis of plasma physics, the redshift phenomenon and the paradox of the missing evidence for the Big Bang become rather easily solved. The key for this is found in the unique nature of light. The nature of the photon, the carrier of the light, is such that a fast-moving light source doesn't actually alter the color of the light. This fact is easily recognizable. The color of light is determined by the energy environment within the electromagnetic photon envelope when the light is created. Some photon packets are larger, some are smaller. The higher the energy level is inside a photon package, the tighter the package is held together, and the smaller it thereby becomes. The physical movement of an atomic element in which the photon package is formed does not affect the size of the package. Only the energy level within the atom affects the size of the photon, and thereby its color. Different size photons are recognized as different colors. This fundamental pattern, of course, extends far beyond the visible spectrum, which is actually quite narrow. Extremely high energy levels, for example, produce extremely tiny packets, such as the X-ray photons that are typically 100,000 times smaller than the photons of visible light. But why won't light change its color once it is created? Let's take a look at this. When one throws an apple out of the window of a fast-moving train, The apple doesn't end up being stretched out before it impacts the ground. This is so because an apple is an entity, regardless of the speed of the train that carries it. However, a different principle applies to sound waves. When a fast train drives through a station, its whistle is of a higher pitch when it approaches the station, and of a lower pitch when it moves away from the station. This is so because a sound wave is a disturbance in the air that reaches an observer's ear at a different rate by approaching or departing. In sound, the shifting pitch is normal because sound is a disturbance in the air, while light is not a disturbance, but is an individual object, a discrete package. A beam of light is a propagated stream of individual entities. However, because light consists of photons that are complete individual entities that are of a specific size for a specific color, and the size of the photon is determined by the energy it contains, the size can change when its energy is dissipated on the path of its travel over extremely long distances. This factor is significant in the context of the Big Bang redshift theory. The redshift that is observed in light from distant galaxies is, of course, totally real. We see the spectral lines received from different galaxies. We see them shifted collectively towards the red. But how is the redshift possible when light is made up of discrete photon entities that cannot be stretched out in the same manner as a disturbance would be stretched by a receding source? The answer is simple. When light is propagated over very long distances in the range of hundreds of millions of light years, a slight energy depletion occurs along the way. The photon package increases in size by the energy depletion. The purple light thereby becomes blue light. It becomes a larger package, and the blue light becomes green light, and the green light becomes yellow light, and so on. The entire spectrum of the light becomes shifted towards the red. And the red, of course, gets shifted off the visible spectrum. Now the redshift phenomenon makes sense. It has nothing to do with light from distant galaxies being stretched by a moving light source that is racing away from us. The entire Big Bang theory thereby falls apart. Yes, the wavelength of light appears to be stretched thereby, but this is the result of the changing size of the photons that results from gradual energy depletion. The amount of the redshift is typically a factor of the distance that light has to cross from far away galaxies before it arrives at our door. The amount of the redshift is also a factor of the density of the cosmic dust, gases, and plasma that the light encounters along the way. This too affects the rate of energy depletion. For this reason, the redshift amounts do vary with local conditions, both at the source and along the way. The redshift definitely is not an indication that galaxies are racing away from us in all directions, as if we were the center of the Big Bang universe. The Big Bang theory is paradoxical also for another reason. This too is rather obvious. The theory states that all matter in the universe was created in one place in the first 3 minutes of the explosion and has been expanding outward thereafter for 13.8 billion years. If this was true, the material density in the universe would diminish outward with the cube of the distance from the source. At the rate of the expansion that is theorized, the material distribution in the distant regions would be so thinly spread that almost nothing should exist in distant places. Instead, the opposite is true. We see a universe that is of near homogeneous density in populations of galaxies, clusters of galaxies, and superclusters. This evenly packaged universe that we see was evidently not created from a single source at a single time, but is a universe that manifests itself as a self-unfolding plasma universe that is formed by creative principles that are manifest everywhere throughout the cosmic space. The evidence suggests that the universe is not entropic in nature and winding down from its initial infusion of energy, but is completely self-creating everywhere, unfolding itself in a process that is opposite in nature to entropy. The opposite of entropy one might term anti-entropy. David Bohm, whom Einstein is said to have called his successor, speaks of cosmic space as latent energy that has an implicate order and an explicate order. And the modern perception of subatomic particles, such as quarks, as being made up of moving points of energy, which subsequently make up the protons and electrons of the universe. It can be said that everything in the universe has ultimately been derived from the latent energy of space itself. And thus the energizing source of the universe is present everywhere, throughout all cosmic space, from which everything that has become visible is derived, and also the plasma particles that are not visible. With the electromagnetic principles that set the resulting plasma into motion, stars and galaxies of stars are formed everywhere in space, which, by means of plasma fusion, synthesize all the atomic elements that exist in the universe in a creative process that happens everywhere and never ends, by which the universe grows and becomes more massive. That's the mark of anti-entropy. Every sun becomes thereby a creator of its own surrounding world. Everything that we see, every atom in the universe, has been created by a sun. This means that a sun is not an entropic hydrogen fusion furnace that consumes itself as the Big Bang theory would have it to be, such as a sun condensed from primordial gases, but is instead a plasma sun that is itself the creator of all the hydrogen atoms and other atomic elements that surround the sun and form the solar system. Our sun, according to all evidence, is a plasma sun and is powered by electric plasma interaction. The so-called pillars of creation of the Eagle Nebula are pillars of atomic dust, synthesized by a powerful sun located behind each one of the pillars near the top. The Big Bang theory states that the dust of the pillars has created their respective sun as a product of accretion. In the real universe, the opposite is true. The evidence is rather simple, that it was the sun behind each pillar that has created the atomic elements that are visible here as clouds of dust and gases. The so-called pillars of creation are pillars of smoke and dust that have been created by an extremely active sun. The sun thereby becomes its creative source rather than the created object, as the Big Bang theory would have it to be. Every sun fuses plasma into atoms. It synthesizes every atomic element that exists. No Big Bang explosion is needed for a universe to be blessed with an abundance of elements. The real universe is self-creating, self-powering, and is self-maintaining and self-advancing by the dynamics of its timeless principles that have no beginning and no end. We should celebrate that the Big Bang theory is false. The celebration frees us to celebrate the universe as it is. It enables the recognition that the universe is powered by immensely large, though invisible, cosmic streams of plasma that power every sun, which we too can access for utilization on the Earth. Not a single sun in the universe is self-powered. Every sun is powered by the universe directly, by means of electromagnetic principles on the cosmic scale that focus electric cosmic plasma streams onto a sun. We should celebrate this truth because the galactic electric energy streams present to us an anti-entropic electric energy resource to power our world with as we make it available to us. Our future depends absolutely on this utilization. We presently live by burning fuels for energy production. These fuels are being depleted. Oil and gas and nuclear fission fuel may be depleted in 60 years. Coal may last a bit longer. Most of the depletion has occurred in the last 200 years of the 6,000-year history of our civilization. Before large-scale energy development began, the only energy resource we had was wood taken from the land, or oil from fish. The poverty that corresponds with this primitive living has kept humanity small. However, once we freed ourselves from the primitive poverty, we found that the needed energy resources that give us our advanced freedom from poverty are inherently finite. The question needs to be asked, what will happen to us when the energy resources that we rely on have been used up? We may be at this stage in 100 years, or the final depletion may be delayed 1,000 years if we curtail energy use with murderous consequences. But when we get to this point, will we lay ourselves down to die? Even if we would restart a nuclear fast breeder technology that enables the fuller utilization of the available nuclear fuel by a factor of 20, we would still run out of fuel in roughly 1,000 years. The bottom line is that our terrestrial fuel resources are so minuscule and finite that we won't have anything left of them 1,000 years from now, or potentially much sooner than that. What will power our economy then, through the next 90,000 years of the coming glaciation period, which will be upon us potentially in the 2050s? What will power our world when the presently used energy fuels are depleted? What will power our world for the millions of years into the future that humanity has the potential to have on the Earth? If we didn't have the option to tap into the cosmic electric energy streams that power our sun, which are evidently available also on the Earth, our future would end at the time we run out of fuels. We would simply die back to a minuscule number of people or become extinct. Fortunately, this tragedy does not need to be our future, because the Big Bang theory that blocks our vision of the real universe is not true. The cosmic electric energy streams that power every sun, including our sun, do exist. NASA has even photographed them surrounding the Earth. The cosmic plasma streams that are encircling the Earth in the form of two bands centered on the magnetic equator are cosmic energy streams that promise to be available to us for our future. Of course, the technology for the utilization of this resource needs yet to be developed. And this is only a technological step away. The Big Bang theory, in contrast, would have us believe that the cosmic energy resource outside the bounds of the Earth doesn't exist. Fortunately, the theory is wrong. It has no foundation. Let's celebrate that the truth is much grander, which gives us an infinite future. The Big Bang theory insists that humanity has no future, that the universe itself has no future. It insists that the universe was given one single shot of energy, one single infusion, and that's all it got, which implies that our tiny portion on the Earth is the totality that we will ever have. The theory says that energy was spread across the universe by the Big Bang explosion, so that what we got from it is all we will ever have, so that by our burning it, our future is diminishing. In other words, when the energy resources are gone, our future ends. The principle by which everything ends is termed entropy. The Big Bang theory is entropic because it says that once we have used up what we were given, we will have nothing and we will die. The Big Bang theory says that even the sun will die when it used up its fuel. It says that the entire universe will grind down to nothing and die the inevitable energy depletion death. Fortunately, we see no evidence that the theory is even remotely credible. If a big explosion had created all matter in the universe, which the explosion expanded and forged with it all the visible forms, then the distribution of matter would have become diffused with the cube of the distance according to the dynamics of an explosion. This means that the primordial matter would have become spread so thin farther out that almost nothing would be found in these places, much less the gigantic volumes of it that supposedly condensed into clusters of galaxies. If the Big Bang Theory was correct, there shouldn't be anything much to be seen in the universe. Of course, this is not how this universe reveals itself to the viewers with telescopes. The observable universe is uniformly dense, with a near-even distribution of galaxy superclusters throughout the vast reaches of space that telescopes can observe, ranging from the local superclusters to the vast sea of superclusters that are spread out across the infinite realms of the cosmos. We are looking at a universe with our telescopes that is evidently self-created everywhere, instead of having originated from a single point source. We are seeing a universe that is actively self-powered and is actively self-maintained, and this everywhere, with nothing running down. But how is this possible? How can an entire universe be self-powered? The subject takes us back to David Bohm, whom Einstein is said to have called his successor. As I said earlier, David Bohm speaks of cosmic space as not being empty, but as being a vast sea of latent energy with an implicate order and an explicate order. But what does this mean? Our oceans can be seen as a latent sea of water. Nothing much happens there. However, a tiny portion of the water constantly evaporates at the surface. The water vapor, though, is too small in size to be seen by itself. Only when water molecules latch together and form tiny droplets will the evaporated vapor become faintly visible as fog. The latent background of energy that David Bohm speaks about may be likened in comparison to a vast ocean of energy from which tiny parts become discrete, become explicate, like molecules of water vapor that become discrete from the oceans. In space, the discrete explicates of the latent energy become the basic elementary particles of the universe. The major groups of these explicate discrete entities of energy are termed quarks and leptons. The quarks have built-in characteristics that combines them into specific forms that form the proton particle, and in a similar manner the leptons for the electron particle. The electron is the smallest of the particles. It is 1,000 times smaller than a proton. A proton is made up of 3 quarks that are bundled together, which gives the proton a substantial size and a substantial apparent mass. The electron, in comparison, is so small that it exists partly as but an energy wave, and only partly as a particle. This means that the quarks and leptons, which are but energy in motion, are the basic substance for the basic building blocks of the universe. The protons and electrons exist in space, organized into vast streams termed plasma. The plasma in turn carries the forces by which the visible universe is formed and organized and gains its mass. Since roughly 99.94% of the mass of the universe is provided by the protons, and the protons are made up of quarks that are zeroized entities of energy, it may be useful to look at the protons once more and the quarks that form them. The quarks clump together in groups of 3. Each carries a specific electric charge, which, when they are grouped together, give the resulting proton a positive electric charge, which in turn complements precisely an electron's negative charge. Without this precise balance, which is essential in constructing the visible universe that is made up of atomic elements, the visible universe and its higher order constructs with intelligent life at its pinnacle would not exist. This means that the substance of the universe in all its forms is energy that exists simply everywhere and is constantly created everywhere. Thus, the pure energy entities that unfold as quarks and leptons are, through the constructs of plasma, the lifeblood of the universe. The blood of energy flows everywhere, from which everything is created. The universe without plasma is inconceivable, except in dreams. It renders the universe as anti-entropic in nature. All space is filled with plasma. It combines into giant streams. The streams of plasma have formed every sun and continue to do so. Plasma also carries the energy that powers every sun, and by which the plasma becomes fused in high-energy processes on the surface of the sun in an electric synthesis where the atoms of the universe are forged. This process happens now and always had and always will. Every atom that exists in the universe was synthesized from plasma in electric fusion on a solar surface. The Big Bang creation theory is nothing more than just a dream. The creative process of the universe, of course, continues. It continues everywhere in the universe simultaneously. It is anti-entropic. Nothing ever had a single point origin and collapse as its destiny. The creative process is universal. What you see here is what an anti-entropic universe necessarily looks like and does look like. All this also means that the fabled nuclear fusion energy production that is pursued on Earth is not a viable option. The theorized basis for nuclear fusion power is wrong, because the sun that it aims to replicate is not inherently an energy producer, but acts as an energy converter of the energy that flows in the universe. A sun is not entropic in nature. It is not self-consuming to produce energy. An energy-producing sun does not exist. The nuclear fusion energy production that aims to replicate the energy production of the sun is a mistake in premise. The universe is not consuming itself to produce energy. The universe is energy and is producing everything with it. We fail when we aim to operate outside the platform of the universe, aiming for fusion power for which no basis exists. Indeed, we do fail big time in every single one of our attempts to do this. The point source and dead-end energy future that the Big Bang theory parades as a concept is false. Every explosion is entropic and blows itself out. No evidence exists for it being the universal order. Every form of evidence reveals the theory to be a trap. We should celebrate that the theory is false, because if the Big Bang was real, humanity would have no future. At the present time, by clinging to the Big Bang trap, the trap of universal entropy, humanity denies itself to have a future. It denies itself the universal energy resource, which is a resource that is not based on a consumable fuel, but is active everywhere. The anti-entropic energy resource that is rooted in the nature of the universe itself is a resource that is constantly self-renewing. The cosmic energy resource is plasma, plasma in motion. It powers everything. Our future depends on tapping into this resource. Without it, we have no future. As I said before, all of our gas, oil, coal, nuclear energy systems are fuel-based systems that are inherently entropic systems. These entropic energy systems are depleted by energy use. They are dead-end systems. Only the cosmic energy system is self-renewing and self-expanding. If the Big Bang was the truth, a nebula such as the Crab Nebula would not exist. The Crab Nebula emits light energy at the equivalent of 75,000 suns. Under the Big Bang entropic theory, the light is the residual energy of a supernova star explosion back in 1054 AD. However, no explosion anywhere has ever created a source of light that does not dim, but grows brighter. The light emitted by the Crab Nebula, or any other nebula, is not residual energy from an explosion, but is light emitted by atoms activated with the movement of interstellar plasma that flows through the nebula, typically centered on a large sun. The flow-through process of plasma flowing through a nebula is indicated by the bipolar shape of some nebulas that is often plainly visible. In these types of focused plasma streams, our energy future on Earth is located. The Earth orbits within a highly concentrated plasma flow that presently creates the solar plasma environment. In some rare cases, the shape of nebulas, such as in the case of the Red Square Nebula, matches in principle the geometry observed in high-energy plasma experiments. And as I said before, our interface with the stellar plasma streams is visible in the form of equatorial plasma bands surrounding the Earth. The same type of bands are also visible on the Sun, that operates by the same electric principle, only much more powerfully so. As I also mentioned before, the cosmic electric energy platform operates a number of large natural planetary systems, such as lightning, tornadoes, and a major global ocean and air current. In comparison with the energy flux that powers these immensely powerful systems, our human energy needs are rather puny. It is this rather small additional cosmic energy utilization that we will need to power our future with, which the Big Bang Theory would deprive us of by its extreme premises that plasma streams in cosmic space do not exist. By its premise, mass and gravity are the only forces that are recognized to exist as a basis for all effects. The Big Bang Theory is a trap that is empty, a ring of smoke without substance. It always comes back to this form as a model for entropy. In the small-minded prison of universal entropy, the Big Bang Theory acts as a global suicide contract that enforces energy starvation and all kinds of related forms of starvation. The Western imperial system is presently murdering 100 million people a year with the biofuels genocide contract that demands that vast quantities of high-value food are being burned as fuel in automobiles in a world that has 1 billion people living in chronic starvation. The consequences of the difference between the Big Bang cosmology and the plasma cosmology that the Big Bang is designed to obscure renders the controversy a deadly affair, which goes far beyond being merely an academic issue. The difference between the Big Bang system of entropy and the universal anti-entropy is so vast that it has become an existential issue on the global scale. If the Big Bang cosmology is not aborted, much of humanity will die in the near future from the imposed energy starvation and related insanities, all as the result of an assumed entropy of the system that society has been taught that it is bound to. Because the Big Bang universe is deemed to have evolved from gravitational condensation of primordial dust and gases into stars, planets, and galaxies. No energy resource is deemed to exist that maintains anything. In this trap, the sun is seen standing by itself, deemed entropic and burning itself up for the lack of recognition of the cosmic energy resource. In this trap, the sun is assumed to be an isolated entity that is burning the hydrogen atoms that it is deemed to be made of, burning them as a fuel in its internal nuclear fusion process, until the fuel is depleted whereby it dies in numerous ways. This dying solar model is then applied to the terrestrial energy resource model, which renders our future subject to depletion. Little hope remains after this. When the Earth's energy resources are depleted, and we are getting close to that, humanity has no option under this model but to die as a consequence, because no energy resource is deemed to exist that would keep humanity going forever. Now compare this inherent death spiral with its opposite, the plasma cosmology. Here the universe is made up of plasma. This means that 99.999% of the universe as plasma carries an electric charge and thereby electric energy. This means that the sun is not made up of cosmic dust and gases, but is made up of plasma with an electric quality, whereby it becomes electrically powered with a process of interstellar plasma becoming drawn to it, that becomes fused into atoms on its surface with the electromagnetic force generated by the movement of the plasma itself. On this platform, all planets are formed from atoms synthesized by the sun. Since plasma in cosmic space is self-renewing, it cannot be depleted. Consequently, a sun cannot die. Neither can the Earth ever be deprived of an energy resource, because the cosmic plasma that we can tap into is not a fuel that can be drawn to depletion, but is an enduring quality of the universe. With it, humanity has an infinite, energy-rich future. This means we have a choice before us. For as long as the Big Bang cosmology rules in the mind, humanity is effectively trapped by it, to die the death of the assumed energy resource depletion. This belief is apparently so strong that plans are promoted to harvest helium-3 from the moon as a fusion energy fuel, in spite of the fact that the last experiment required 1 million times greater energy input to cause the helium-3 fusion to happen. And then it gave back as released energy. That's how heavily the assumption of energy entropy weighs on humanity, so that it looks for miracles to circumvent it, while remaining unaware of the anti-entropic energy option that the Big Bang theory obscures. The Big Bang entropic cosmology operates as this type of deadly package that includes numerous similar aspects. Inversely, in the plasma universe, that stands as the total opposite of the entropic theory. Everything is recognized to be actively powered by the forever flowing cosmic plasma energy streams. The plasma universe, too, operates as a package. This package includes the plasma sun with cosmic plasma fusion occurring on its surface. It promises humanity an energy resource to tap into that cannot be depleted, whereby humanity has an endless, energy-rich future. The Big Bang offers a trap. The trap has numerous phases. Each phase reflects the notion of the self-powered sun, whereby it hides the coming ice age and its consequences. In contrast, the plasma universe offers itself as an open door. The open door has likewise many faces, with each reflecting the anti-entropic plasma-powered sun and its electric principles that determine the Ice Age dynamics, which are knowable and enable us to respond to the dynamics to protect our civilization. The Big Bang Theory includes a number of entropic elements that set up traps in the mind that inspire desperate measures. The fusion energy dream on Earth, for example, is a dead-end trap, because the sun is not powered by internal atomic fusion that society attempts to replicate. And since fusion power doesn't work, out of desperation, society now looks to the moon to mine helium-3 from its dust, in the desperate hope that helium-3 will be a useful fuel, though it is the hardest element to fuse. In addition, the desperation causes a denial in science of the universal barriers that the universe has erected against atomic fusion to protect its integrity. The resulting entropy-inspired atomic fusion energy hope stands nevertheless as but a brilliant dream with an empty center. The plasma universe, in comparison, offers humanity real, ready-made energy without the need for burning any type of fuel. It offers humanity a great energy freedom with cosmic abundance. It enables anti-entropic energy utilization. It enables high-density energy applications. It opens the door to an energy-rich future for all time to come. In the real universe, the plasma universe, the Earth is afloat in a sea that is energy, which powers the sun. Why then would we need to produce energy? This leaves us with the question, which package will determine our future? The Big Bang package offers death by depletion of everything. The plasma universe package, in contrast, offers unlimited resources for development, life and abundance. Which of the two options would you choose as a basis for building a civilization on?